The development of a spaceship is an intensive process in and of itself, but the steps it must take make the entire process considerably more time-consuming and complex. An environmental evaluation must be performed to guarantee that no wildlife or plant habitats are harmed in any way. To guarantee that these safety procedures are followed, a body must be in charge of keeping space businesses under check. The body we are talking about is known as the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, in the United States, and it is in charge of regulating and clearing space firms and all aviation-related concerns in the country. This administration has recently become a stumbling block for SpaceX's scheduled orbital flights and other operations. The FAA mission struck as a huge setback for missions to Mars aboard the Starship reusable rocket, which has a cargo capacity of 100 metric tons in deep space. SpaceX has a track record of making rapid judgments and implementing plans quickly, which is one of the causes for the company's difficulties with the FAA, which takes a long time to make decisions about regulations and processes. This raises three interesting questions. First, what concerns regarding SpaceX's operations at Boca Chica does the FAA prioritize? And second, how will the environmental evaluation be made? Third, what is the FAA doing now, and likely has done in the past, to impede SpaceX's operations? And how is Musk reacting to these obstacles as CEO of the massive space company? In this video, we will explain the FAA's functions and how it has caused SpaceX's operations to move at a slower than usual rate. We'll also talk about the difficulties SpaceX is currently facing as a result of the FAA's participation and hear Elon Musk's answer. Hi, welcome to TechSpace. Stick with us because we are about to show you how Federal Aviation Administration attempted to stop SpaceX flight, but became so miserable they have gave up on the company. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more video like this. It is completely free to do so. The launch of the SpaceX spaceship must be scrutinized until it is tested, but none of this compares to the challenges of obtaining environmental clearance from the FAA. The two are currently collaborating to conduct a comprehensive examination of every possible impact of this operation on the surrounding areas as well as the environment. Yet a tweet by Musk may suggest that SpaceX is simply dragging the FAA along. As things stand, even after the evaluation materials are completed, it will take months to gather public opinion on the subject. However, this is only the first step in a long process, because the FAA will need to conduct additional research to ensure that the measures and mitigations provided by SpaceX are sufficient to reduce risk. If not, more research will need to be conducted to determine the best safety measures possible for the area. You may be asking why the FAA is so concerned about SpaceX's operations. I don't think it's a personal vendetta, but rather part of their job prospects. But how can the FAA handle both aircraft aviation and space transportation, as one given that there are around 16.5 million aircraft flights per year compared to 50 space flights in 2021, with firms like SpaceX declaring plans for several launches as space tourism grows more popular. The FAA is sure to have a lot of work on its hands. The idea of a commercial Starship that can transport hundreds of passengers from point A to point B in space on a single day will encounter several obstacles due to the FAA's current standards, and may not even succeed if such rules are not changed. Something as simple as obtaining an FAA license could take up to 6 months to complete due to the lengthy examination and verification process. Although approval takes a long time to obtain, once received, the licensing granted only applies to one rocket and one route, which means that an operator cannot use the same license on any other or even the same rocket if it is to travel a different path. The biggest challenge with SpaceX is that the FAA must update its processes and become more time efficient in order to keep up with the pace of the world of space tourism and transportation. Because of the significant time gap between the two, they cannot manage space concerns in the same way they treat other aircrafts. So how does this interfere with SpaceX's operations? Aside from environmental assessments, the FAA has previously delayed and impeded SpaceX's growth. For example, in December 2020, while SpaceX was creating the very first Starship prototype, SpaceX was granted the license to launch the Starship mission on the provisions that it be done only under certain weather conditions. With only a few minutes till launch, the FAA notified that the launch could not take place due to weather conditions that were not in accordance with standards. This is a notice that the personnel of SpaceX chose to disregard, as they masterfully proceeded to run the spaceship only to have it crash land and burst into flames. If the FAA hadn't been so enraged by SpaceX's disregard for its warnings, it could have responded, "I told you so." As a result, another rule specifies that no launches may take place without an FAA officer is present. The majority of SpaceX's operations were later stymied by FAA officers who came late for scheduled launches. All of these must have been too much for CEO Elon Musk to bear, as he has lashed out on Twitter, claiming that, unlike the FAA's airplane sector, which is efficient, the space division has a fundamentally dysfunctional structure. Their regulations are designed for a few disposable launches per year from a few government installations. Humanity will never reach Mars if these laws are followed. Musk became enraged and stated that the way the FAA runs is only justifiable if there are just a few launches per year. Musk shared a black and white image of the spaceship rocket system in August as a mock revenge for the FAA delays. This image may simply depict what happened when aircrafts first emerged into the spotlight, the problems they encountered, and how they overcame them. You may share your thoughts in the comments area. The main point of contention is the test flight of the Spaceship 20. The FAA has not yet granted SpaceX permission, but no one knows when it will or how long it will take. The quantity of stamps required by a regulatory authority that appears to take its time conducting evaluations before making any conclusions significantly slows SpaceX's fast-paced work rate. The FAA is concerned about how SpaceX's operations may impact the environment in and near Boca Chica, including the impact on plant life, animal habitats, and human survival. It is currently conducting assessments to provide a thorough picture of the likely effects, which will subsequently be made public for review and feedback. The administration is now reviewing assessments of SpaceX's operations in the same manner that it handles airplane aviations, which can take several months to provide licenses and approval. It does not provide SpaceX any special treatment, which has led to numerous confrontations between the administration and SpaceX in the past. There is no doubt that these disputes will continue if the FAA's standards are not revised, as this will seriously jeopardize SpaceX's intentions to colonize Mars with the Starship vessel. The FAA has said that SpaceX can most likely proceed with its maiden orbital launch, but they are unsure of the consequences on animals and habitats, making it impossible to complete the licensing procedure. The environmental study has been identified by SpaceX as one of the most important milestones that must be met before starting orbital Starship flights, with CEO and founder Elon Musk stating in August that the business might be ready in a few weeks after the process is completed. The overall approval process is larger than the recently disclosed report, which focuses on the environmental implications of Starship launches and how they can be addressed, particularly in the environmentally sensitive area surrounding the launch site near Boca Chica, Texas, on the Gulf Coast. According to the FAA, the environmental assessment expects up to 20 Starship suborbital test flights per year throughout development, as well as up to 5 Starship and Super Heavy orbital launches each year. Musk, on the other hand, intends to launch even more Starships for Mars communities each year. So, do you think FAA will definitely confront SpaceX's next spaceflight? Please do well to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Until next time, please like, share, subscribe. And while you're still around, why don't you click on one of those flashing videos on the screen for more content?